I'm Irish. I don't really care what goes on in Ireland. Why do they have why do you think they have such strong opinions on this?
They're very tribal. And it's no secret that they're a tribal people. Their identity has resisted assimilation for thousands of years. Think about it. Jews have never had a country until 60, 70 years ago, but they've maintained their religion, their culture, their ethnic identity, being scattered all over the world and minorities in every country. Almost every other group assimilates, and they eventually become like the people around them, or they'll intermarry and they just get diluted to the point that they don't exist. So, and that's not for no reason. They have a very strong Jewish identity, and so what goes on in Israel is of great significance to them, and they have a personal stake in that. So
that's why you feel like conservative media talks about that so much, even though it's not an American issue.
That is why.
And that was the issue that you had with the different conservative media places.
Yeah, and that's where that beef.
Just so you know, the historical identity of this entire situation is that Jewish people were stateless for almost 2,000 years after Rome destroyed Judea, and they scattered across Europe, not only Europe, but the Middle East and beyond. And they kept a strong cultural, religious identity. Unlike most groups that assimilate over time and generations, Jews consciously preserve their nationhood. The stake in Palestine and Israel is when the modern state of Israel was created in 1948. It wasn't just about the land. It was more framed as the first safe, sovereign homeland for Jews, and after centuries of persecution. But the flip side is that the land wasn't empty. Palestinians were already there. Hundreds of thousands of people were completely displaced. The Nakba of 1948, why the lobby exists is because Israel is seen as existential for Jewish identity worldwide. Lobbying groups like AIPAC argue that any threat to Israel is a threat to Jewish survival. That's why American politicians get so caught up in this U.S. national interest directly and at any cost. Even when the policies don't serve the U.S. national interest, they're pressured to protect Israel. And people often say Muslims created modern terrorism, but from the Palestinian perspective, the violence and bombings began as resistance against land seizure and occupation. So they're just defending themselves from their perspective. And Nick flips at that point, saying if you zoom out, Israel's creation itself was the disruption that fueled decades of conflict.
Here I was naively hearing the rhetoric from...
Don't be a hoe. Share the show. Yeah.